What's up, Ragin Nation? My name is Alex and you're watching the Ragin Ronin review. In this video, I will be reviewing Cloud Atlas. Cloud Atlas is the sixth film directed by the Wachowskis. It is also directed by Tom Tykwer. He directed Run Lola Run. So this is a very interesting combination of directors. Cloud Atlas is a very unique film. It is a very ambitious film. It's based off the novel of the same name. And the reason why I say that it's a very ambitious film is that it is so grand. There are 6 big stories in this almost 3-hour film, and these 6 stories, they don't collide. The characters in each of these separate stories do not actually collide or meet each other. Each 6 stories take place in a different time. But what this movie is about is how the actions of a person or individual in one story have an effect or impact the actions or consequences of another time, and then it just keeps going on throughout the 6 different stories. Now, the movie isn't told in a very linear style. It doesn't start from, the 1700s and all the way to the distant future. It jumps from one time to another time to another time to another time, and this actually poses as a bit of a problem for the movie. Now, I'm not sure if the novel was told this way, but because it is told this way in the movie, it makes it very confusing if you are not completely paying attention. If you go take a bathroom break, you are done. You will not know what the heck is going on, and you won't know how each and any of these stories are directly or indirectly related to these other stories. That is the thing about this movie. You really have to pay attention to what's going on. It's kind of like Inception. There's so many little details, little minute details that are displayed in the story that if you miss something, you're not going to see how it's related. You're going to miss the entire point of the film, and that is how these different stories are related to each other. And when I say that this poses a problem for the film, in my opinion, I would have to say it makes the movie a bit messy. And it's not just messy because if you don't pay attention, you won't know what the hell's going on and you're going to be really confused. It's messy because of the way the movie presents itself. It's almost like a mystery or a guessing game for you. And unfortunately, that is not what I think that going to watch a movie like this should be like. You should not be trying to do math in your head as the movie is going along. You're supposed to be staying engaged, which I was, but at the same time, I was trying to figure out what the point of all this was. And it wasn't completely obvious to me. And I don't need the filmmakers to spell it out for me. I don't need that. But what I think it should have is to have a solid story as a whole. And I'm talking about for a movie. I'm not talking about for the novel. The novel can tell a story however it wants. It doesn't have the same limitations as to what a movie has. A movie has to tell a story within its feature-length running time. But one thing that I do have to say is that I have to give the directors a huge amount of respect for trying to make an ambitious film like this, because like I said before, this movie is so grand in its narrative structure. You really have to take the time to tell every single story to its minute little details to really get the point across. Unfortunately, this makes it a little bit too drawn out. And the biggest problem for me is that I found the connection between each story to be a little bit too minute. And if you don't even see that minute connection, then there's really no connection at all. And you're just walking out of the theater just trying to figure out what was the connection to begin with. I found little connections, but I didn't see all the connections. A lot of people were saying that the ending is so satisfying because you see all the connections as a whole. They said it was so emotionally satisfying. I didn't feel the same way. I didn't feel the same way at all. For me, as I was walking out of the theater, I was thinking to myself, would the stories be told much better had they been told in a more linear format? Here's story 1 as a whole from beginning to end. Here's story 2 from beginning to end, and then so on to the distant future where we're in the post-apocalyptic Hawaii. Would that have worked out a little better? Or would it have been better had each of these stories had its own feature-length running time? Unfortunately, the answer is no, and the most effective way to tell the Cloud Atlas story was through the way we've just seen it. But that doesn't mean to me that it makes it great. One of the critics described the movie as a beautiful mess. I'd have to agree with that. It is a very messy film that's all over the place, literally. But it is still a movie that is engaging. It does have a nearly 3-hour running time, and it starts off slow for the first hour. And I'm trying to figure out the whole time what the heck is going on. But then once you reach the middle to the end of the movie, that's where it starts capturing your attention, and that's where you start connecting with the characters. And it's engaging because of not only the performances. I thought the performances was great, but more of the technical aspects of the film were also great. great. I have to give a big thumbs up for a lot of the technical aspects. For example, the cinematography, the set design, the art department, the costumes, the makeup. All these little elements made the movie fantastic. But even with all those elements, if you still have a messy story, it doesn't make a great movie. I think that out of all the 6 stories, the most engaging story was the one that takes place in Neo's soul in the year 2174, I think. That was really interesting and exciting to me because not only did it have a lot of action and great visuals, but we're seeing a world that we've never seen before. And just the whole concept, the characters, the world they have created is just beautiful. It's fantastic. Would the Neo Soul story work out as a feature-length film? Probably not. There are not enough elements to make that story that exciting. But it does provide for some pretty awesome action sequences in the grand scheme of the movie. All of the other stories needed a little bit of extra push to capture my attention from the very beginning. But it was the fact that we saw the characters develop in the middle of the movie before we start to feel that, okay, this is a pretty interesting story. But if you really want to see that connection between stories, which is the whole point of the film's concept, you really need to pay attention. And if you're still trying to figure out what that connection is, then this movie didn't work for you. One thing that I gotta mention that was very ambitious about this movie was the characters and the performances, and that was having the actors play these really out there roles. I mean, you had blacks playing whites, Asians playing whites, men playing women. Seeing the Neo Soul makeup on Hugo Weaving and Jim Sturgis really made them look like Romulans. It was just a really weird look for them, and I just couldn't get over it. It just made them look really, really weird. And it made me more curious about the whole backstory of Neo Soul. Like, why are they all like that? Anyways, I have to say that this movie was pretty engaging for the most part, and it really excelled in the technical department, and there were some pretty outstanding performances. But without a very strong narrative structure and some very messy storytelling, it just really doesn't make the movie great enough for me to recommend it. I'm gonna have to give this movie a 5.5 out of 10. A lot of people really like this movie and are giving it some really high scores. I have to say that it is very ambitious, but this movie was probably told better as a novel. I still will continue to be fans of the Wachowskis. The Matrix is a very ambitious film, but they pulled it off successfully, making it one of the most important sci-fi films in cinematic history. Check out their next film from the Wachowskis, Jupiter Ascending, which comes out in 2014. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the movie. As always, if you enjoyed this review, hit that like button. If you want to see more movie reviews, hit that subscribe button. If you want to chat about Cloud Atlas on Facebook, hit the like button on the Ragin Nation Facebook page, and if you want to chat with me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name is Alex Yu, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. And Mark 1, 2, and 3. In the second one, we saw 4, 5, and 6. And in the Avengers, I think we saw 6 and 7. So this moves on to Mark 8.